Well, hello there, and welcome to the show. You are watching, of course, the Nth Degree TV, and I'm your host, Tracy Timm. I'm super excited to have you here today. It is Wednesday, so we are going live with another guest interview for you. And we're talking about today specifically when it's time to quit your job, or when should you think about leaving your job, or are you just kind of going through the hard part that, you know, everybody inevitably needs to go through to get to where they want to go. And I'm so excited to bring you today's guest. Her name is Emily Page. She's an amazing dear friend of mine. We have offices across the hall from each other, and we joke with each other all day long. But in all seriousness, Emily is the perfect person to talk about this because she actually helps generate products through her company, Pearl Resourcing. They do product development and packaging, and they help you take your idea from concept to reality. And so they're constantly going through the genesis of ideas from, I just have this thing in my head, to making it something that people can buy and something that people want to buy. And so along the way, they inevitably come up with all kinds of different issues and problems and obstacles. And then she's also had issues and problems and obstacles in her own personal and professional life. So I didn't think of anybody that could be better for this conversation than Emily. So I wanted to introduce you to Emily Page. Emily, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so much fun. I've wanted to be on this for a long time, which is very exciting to actually be here with you. And what's so funny is we are normally in the same office, but I'm right now in Los Angeles. And so we are doing a teleconference phone call, and
yes, we are.
You're in Dallas, where I normally am. So
this is the power of technology. We're harnessing it right now. It is the 21st century. I'm loving it. So why don't you start out with telling everybody a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are, and then you and I are going to go a little bit deeper into what you do now and really how to figure out when it's time to quit and when it's time to just push through the hard stuff.
Okay, so for one, I went to school and studied economics because I love solving problems and figuring out the question why and how, and I'm so intrigued by what causes people to buy things. And I really thought I wanted to be a PhD in economics, and I actually went through the grad school program and failed out of my PhD program. I got a master's degree, but I couldn't pass the qualifying exam, and it was so painful. It was so painful to like not succeed in that particular moment, and to also realize like I didn't have what it's not that I didn't have what it took, but it wasn't a good fit. And my mentor at the time, who was the president of the program, said, Emily, I think it's a good thing. You have a huge personality. You're not as good at math as everyone else in your cohort. Yeah. Embrace it. You've got a big personality. You're the one throwing the parties, bring people together. Maybe you should consider this a blessing. And so I went out and was trying to figure out what else to do with my life. And it felt like a divine intervention. I met a woman named Terry Valentine through a friend of mine named Ashley Valentine, and she owned a frozen food product development company. They made recipes, and she's an amazing chef. Yes, and she offered me a job as a project manager. It's so super cool. Oh my gosh, this job became the coolest job because you get to taste test. You get to taste test all the things that were going to Williams-Sonoma and that were going out to Trader Joe's and all this stuff. And so I learned about product development through a project management job, and I did that for 5 years, and I loved every minute of it, and I just kept getting promoted. So, I was under 30, and I became VP of operations for the company, and I just loved the solving problem in a different way. Yeah. And then I met someone, I fell in love, I got married, and it was a very short-lived marriage. And so I had quit this job that I completely loved for what I thought was the right thing. And at that moment, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I just gave up like gave up an incredible job, and I don't know what to do. I'm heartbroken. And again, a divine little intervention. I met a guy at a networking party. He went to USC. He was talking about his business he was selling, and it was a packaging company. And he did product development for packaging, because a lot of times, you see one water bottle and another water bottle, it's water. The same thing as water, but different packaging. And they can sell for different prices, right? the
Yeah.
packaging defines the product. And so I was like, wow, I'm going to try buying this business. And so I took some of my savings. I went to a trade show and I took his samples and I was like, I'm going to pretend like I own this company, because if I get an order, then I'm going to buy it. And I ended up getting orders. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is like God redirecting me. I
Yeah.
am going to buy this business. And so I ended up buying this business and building it. We are now doing packaging in every major grocery store. And I just can't believe this is accidentally where I ended up, and that I love so much what I do. So
Yeah. Is it accidental though? I mean, I know that you and I talk a lot about like divine intervention and serendipity, and then also because we're people driven people, that often I find I meet the right person at the right time for the right thing, right? Or you have the right conversation at the right time for the right thing. But is that an accident, or was it really? Do you attribute it to, we could say like, yes, God, awesome, but like, was there something else at play or something else at work that had to do with you or your vision, or just being in the open to those opportunities that you think also allowed you through that?
1,000,000%, 1,000,000%, because firstly, there's something inside of you that you feel lights you up. And you can feel it when you walk into a romantic relationship where you know that that's a person you want to be in a relationship with. You feel it when you walk into a job that you adore, because there's elements of that that call to something inside of you where you're like, I was made to do that thing. And you can feel whispers of it in different positions that maybe are short-term jobs. I remember my first job out of college, I was doing fundraising, and I loved certain elements of it. I loved the people element. I loved asking for money for things that I believed in. That
Yep.
was really fun. It's a unique, weird quirk, and that was weird. Nobody likes doing that, but I did. And
Yeah.
so I learned a lot about myself through that. And so yeah, I would say that I think besides like that divine intervention element, there is something inside of you that you feel you are made to do and that you want to do, or that lights you up. You don't have to be too philosophical about it. You're just like, hey, I like this thing. And so when you are able to follow that and be open to opportunities that might expose you in slight, small ways, it creates a wedge of opportunity that maybe can let you do it all the time. So, um, being in tune, I think, with what lights you up and gets you excited is really important. And sometimes tragedy is important in your life because it allows you to suddenly be open to taking a risk
Oh,
towards
yeah.
what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Is that how you feel about it too?
Yeah, so I tell people this all the time when we're in calls, or one of the first, well, I get a handful of objections all the time, right? And I think the number one thing obviously is fear. But as people start to break that down, one of the things is they always tell me, oh, but I'm already going through this, or I'm already going through that. Like, we're moving, a relationship is ending, a relationship is starting, my parent is sick. I mean, you name it. Like, there's always going to be stuff, right, in our lives, circumstantial stuff. But I find that especially with making a career transition, because our careers are such a one of the places where we spend the most time and have the most continuity in a given day, right? If you already have, so it's easy to get stuck in a rut. That's the idea there, right? That if it's your source of continuity in any given day, wanting or having the will to disrupt that takes a lot of momentum, and you have to create a lot of inertia to get it going. So I find that if you're already in transition in some other part of your life, it's that much easier to get the transition ball rolling in the career part as well, because you've sort of anesthetized yourself to the initial like pain that comes from making a change. So I'm with you, yeah. And I've also found that like if things are already like, if there's a shitstorm going on in my life somewhere else, I'm like, well, I might as well just mess with this part that I'm unhappy with, because I'm already dealing with that, and that's hard enough. Like you just might as well. Like if it's gonna rain, it should pour, and then the next day it'll be sunny. So for me, maybe I'm a masochist, but I just pile it on, generally speaking, and then hope that all the pieces land where they should. But no, I agree with you totally. So what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that what's curious about that, you'd think I'd become an experienced person at understanding that painful moments are actually moments of opportunity, but it's not like that pain and surprise and shock ever goes away, because I'm 36 years old now, and the things that I look back, and my greatest accomplishments have come out of the deepest moments of confusion or change or transition, where I literally had no idea what I was going to do. And there was a lull that was so uncomfortable, where it's almost like you'd hear a pin drop, because you felt, I'm in the wrong position. Something needs to change. I can't believe this is happening to me. What am I going to do? Who am I? Those moments of confusion were actually the genesis of my greatest accomplishments. You know, I found an incredible business partner, in Jocko Willing, for example. He was just coming out of retirement, and he went on the Tim Ferriss show because he had just written a book and was about to publish it. And he and I had been joking a lot in the past because we are friends. I'm friends with his wife and work out with her. And he had said, we should make some products together. Wouldn't that one day be fun? We joke about what they would be. They were always like joke products, not real ones. And then once he was on the Tim Ferriss show, and Tim Ferriss said, what is this drink you just gave me? And he said, it's white pomegranate tea. I drink it every day before I roll jujitsu. And Tim was like, this is amazing. I love it. You should go and turn it into a product. And then when Jocko said, hey, let's do this, I didn't know that he was going to end up having a famous podcast, or he's certainly, I knew that he would be someone who's memorable and would go places because that's just who he is, but didn't know that the product would take off and become a bestseller on Amazon, or, you know, that it would be, end up in retail stores. So that was an accident. I was actually in a very, you know, hard, painful moment, going through a divorce and a heartbreak. And this opportunity, I probably would not have been able to receive the opportunity had my plate not been completely wiped out and clear. And I wouldn't have been in a place of receiving had I not been in that place, which is, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know what that means.
That is so
for
beautiful.
People going through that.
No, it's so beautiful because, you know, opportunities present themselves to us all the time. Like, that's the nature of living, is that we're constantly taking in stimuli. It could be the light, it could be sound, it could be, and we have to decide what we tune into, because there's just so many things begging for our attention at any given time. So he probably wasn't the only conversation you were having at that point in time, right? But it was the one that you saw as an opportunity for very specific reasons. And the psychology behind it is super
joy.
Yeah, joy, right? And it's what you're seeking, and it's what you're looking for that really dictates what you actually see more of. And there's a psychological phenomenon, I can never remember what it's called, but it's basically like, if you ever go to buy a car, like let's say I want this like exact white sedan and whatever make and model, and then you go and you do all the research, and then you buy it and you bring it home and you're like, oh, I have my favorite car, this is amazing. All of a sudden you see commercials for it, everybody in your neighborhood has it, there are 5 people in your office that have one. Like, it's because we tune to things that we're already thinking about. So if you're, you know, going through a hard thing, this is how I think of it anyway. If you're going through a hard thing in one part of your life and you're looking for joy in any other part, whatever lights up that joy, you know, little sensor in your brain is the thing that you're going to tune to. And yeah, so I want to go deeper with that too, because I know that you and I talk about this stuff a lot as far as like what's hard.
Champagne.
Over lots of champagne, pink bubbly champagne. How did you know, the difference between something that's just hard that you have to kind of push through to get where you want to go, and when it's just wrong, like when it's just not right for you? Have you ever had a point in time where you were like, you know, I could totally muscle my way through this? And maybe your PhD experience could have been like that. I could have muscled, you could have studied, you could have done everything you wanted to do to make that dream happen. But you realized, I think pretty intelligently, that like if there's resistance here and it's not because it's just the hard thing, it's the wrong thing, then I'm going to pivot and go this other direction. So how do you do that?
Yes. So I would say that PhD program was certainly one of those moments, because I actually did apply after I failed out of that program. I applied to another one, because a lot of people do that. They will fail out of one qualifying exam, then they just get into a new program somewhere else in a different place. And I did get accepted in other schools. I could have gone to England to study, but there was a sense of resistance and a sense that that was not the right thing. And what's bizarre is that, you know, when you're busy and you're stressed out and you're afraid that maybe what you want is not going to happen,
Yes.
you can get into a frame of mind where you're too focused on that, on what you want, that you're not actually listening for what your heart's actually telling you. You know, you've set up this framework that the world needs to operate under. Either your parents
Yes.
helped to create that for you, or you know, your friends maybe are all living a white picket fence house and lifestyle, and with, you know, 3 kids, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have what's expected or what I think I need to have in my life. And that, I think, can certainly hamper your ability to listen to really what your heart's saying. The reason why I wanted to do the PhD program is I wanted to firstly learn. I love learning. I love solving problems. I love, number two, understanding how people, you know, work and operate. And number three, I wanted to be able to reach a place of authority where I could speak about these topics and encourage people. I wanted to be able to
Yeah.
encourage people on a regular basis. And I thought, if I have a PhD, I will have authority and I will have expertise and knowledge, and I will really help people. But you know what, Tracy, I do this every day in my actual business. It's so
Yes.
weird. In a business environment, money is a part of all of our lives, our business. I get to actually build products for people. I can do it for, you know, influencers and people who have celebrity reach. I can do it for grocery stores. I do it for manufacturers and people who sell chocolates or chips. And I get to talk to people on a daily basis about their life. And I had no idea this was a platform I could embrace.
Yes.
And so the cool thing is that life can sometimes force you to listen to your heart, but it's hard to do. It's hard to, when you're under stress and when you have expectations for life, it's hard to let go and trust that to listen to your own heart and follow that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You said so many amazing things that I'm like, we could go this direction, we could go that direction, but
Yeah.
it's
Well,
so, yeah, it's so hard.
Well, what I was going to say, because you asked, like, how do you do it? And so I guess those are examples of what was painful. And I can say on a daily basis, another example is that I get clients who come into my peripheral view and I think, wow, this is going to be a perfect client for me. We need to work together. And then it doesn't end up working out. And you can feel a sense of resistance. And so I think you said, how do you handle that? In my own life, what I find is that I press. There's a certain level where I press and I push towards an outcome and a goal that I really would like to see happen in my life. I'm trying to manifest it, or I'm trying to make it happen, or with the force of my will and my strength and my creativity, which is what you're supposed to do in life and business. That's how you create action. You can't move the boulder until you start taking that first step. You won't know the full path of taking the first step. So I'm always, in any situation, whether I feel resistance or not, I'm always still taking steps, because that's how you learn the information, like, whoa, that's not the right direction for me.
Yeah.
And you keep doing that until you feel, I think you have to take moments to be intuitive within yourself, because you get this sense in your gut and in your heart where you're like, oh my gosh, this is just not working out. I'm going to let it go. And that would be the second step, is that you stay in tune with who you are. That's what I do normally, is I get the sense and I just have to listen and then let go. That's the third thing, is I think letting go of stuff where you feel that sense of resistance and it's hard. And there's a principle, it's like the ABC principle, not always be closing, but in sales, if you want to close client A in sales and they're not budging, the best way to close A is to go find B and go find C and try to close them. Forget about A. It's true of dating too. Like if you're trying to, get someone really interested, if you're too available and you're focused so hardcore on getting your outcome, you think this is the right person, you lose something. I don't know what it is. And if you let go of it and you walk away and you go find B and C, A comes back. All of a sudden A wants in on whatever your business is. And I think that's probably true of jobs. If you're applying for a job that you really want and they're not responding to you and you're just like, gosh, I can't do anything to move that ball, let go of it for a minute. Go find something else, because you are worth it. And then come back. Oftentimes it'll come back. It's like a law of the universe. I don't know why it works that way, but it works that way in our sales. And that's how I
think
would handle
too, yeah, and you really are gifted, and maybe you've done just hard work on this, because I know you've gone through hard personal things that have probably made you have to go back to the drawing board and ask yourself, who am I, and what do I stand for, and what matters to me, and what are my core values, and what do I do now, which is always the scary question after something crazy happens. Do you feel like you do that on a routine basis, or you just kind of have a sense of self that's pretty natural, or is there a way for somebody who's coming in and saying, saying, well, Emily just knows she likes to solve problems and knows that she is innately interested in, packaging or whatever. Like, and I don't know what I like. I don't know what I want. Like, what would you say to that person? Because I was stuck there for a really long time, and it kept me from doing the hard thing, which was quitting, knowing that I was in the wrong place and needed to take the time that it took to figure out what the right place really was.
Right. I think the number one way that you know is because you can feel the joy. You feel a joy. I think we've all been hearing about that book, Spark Joy, and it talks about how you can clean up clutter in your house. And
Yeah,
it's the most adorable TV show too on Netflix. You can just watch it, and it's so sweet because
it
they
really
talk about
is.
how you take
She's the cutest. She's the cutest.
Marie
I love her.
Kondo,
Yes.
if I'm saying her last name right, she's like, take this glass and like ask yourself, do I feel joy? And if not, then you say, thank you, thank you for your service, and then you let go of that thing. And if it does serve you and you do feel joy, then you keep it. And it's a very woo-woo way of approaching life, and not everyone's as maybe emotional about
Well,
it, but
is
it's the
it
same
though?
concept.
Is it? Because I think that along the way we forgot that joy was an option. Like I fundamentally believe that along the way, somewhere along the way, never was my bar of success as a child like how joyful did you feel during that game? It was did you win or did you lose, right? How joyful did you feel studying for and taking that test? No, it was did you get a 90 or did you get a 99? Like it was we forgot. We don't teach our kids about joy. We don't embrace joy. Like it's one of my words for this year because I just realized that when people bring it up, it's something that I light up to, like I seek. And it might sound like a nice to have, but I think we were created for joy. I think that there's something that brings that out of each of us, and we should be looking for it. We should be, if you don't feel it right now, there's room to grow, right? There's still room to learn more about yourself and improve and find that place that does spark joy or incite, flow, or just make you feel like a better version of yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And when it comes to finding it, I think I'd be so curious to know what you do to find joy, like how you find the stuff that because this is really your area of expertise. I know that in my own life, because I'm a people person, I usually get awareness about myself through conversations with friends or
Yeah.
mentors or coaches, people who have a unique skill of listening to what you're saying and then extracting and summarizing in an executive summary. Hey, did you notice that you just kept talking about how much you loved that job, how much you loved talking to people?
Yes.
Do you know that every time I talk to you, you start talking about that topic again? That, my friend Terry, who I worked for at the Perfect Bike Company, she has become a best friend of mine and a mentor in a lot of ways because she actually listens to what I have to say. She's so wise and so insightful. She'll extract those things and say, Emily, do you know that you light up every time you talk about that thing and you're
Yes.
gifted at it? And so that reflection is like, mental note, write that one down. Okay, I'm really good
Yes.
at public speaking. Okay, I'm really good at sales. Okay, I have incredible intuition about, the artwork and what it's going to look like on the shelf. So maybe I should be spending more time doing that. And the second thing that I've been doing lately, especially, is writing it out. Because I used to write all my goals. I'm an overachiever, and I really love,
Are you?
thinking
Are
of the
you?
future. Oh my
Samesies,
gosh.
girl. Preach. We could talk about that all day.
Oh my gosh. And then you hit one kind of accomplishment, and rather than sitting there to gel and rejoice over it, you're already thinking of the next way you're going to try to launch a new product or build a new business. And it's not very healthy. So what I've been trying to do lately is write out the things that give me joy. There's a lot of books about this topic advising that this is an important journaling technique, but to focus on that stuff and write it out like every day, even something as small as dark chocolate truffles, which I love.
Yeah,
You
girl.
find one thing and then you you start focusing on what is it that gives you joy and write it out because I think it allows you to appreciate your accomplishments in your everyday, be more present. And so
Yeah.
even just making a practice of that for a month, I think could also help, does also help me
I think
what do
that's
you normally recommend?
I think that's brilliant. I have also, because I think joy comes from oftentimes getting to feel the feelings that we desire, also. Like, joy is sort of like the higher manifestation of feeling, maybe if you really value accomplishment, if I'm deeply in the feeling of accomplishment, I feel joyful because of that. So I always try to tell people to, instead of goal setting, it's the Danielle Laporta, right? Like, the how do I want to feel? What are my desires, right? And if you can set those and then allow yourself to feel them now in some way, as opposed to setting them on the other side of some type of outcome. That's where I think we lose the majority of our joy, is we decide I can't feel that until, I can't feel joy until I have X. Like, I can't feel, my favorite was like, I can't feel love or affection like until I have a romantic relationship. Well, that's just not true, right? It's just not true. What are the things that I could do right now in my life to make myself feel more love and more affection and more joy? Well, you know what, Emily? I got some damn kittens, and they make me feel a lot of joy and affection like every single day. Like, I woke up with one on my chest, and I was like, I love everything about this. Like, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait to feel the way that you want to feel. But I want to take this a 180 and say that what one of our favorite topics to talk about, one of the things I definitely wanted to cover before we wrap up today, was this idea of the day of small things. Because not every day is going to be the greatest manifestation of your joy. But a lot of times, the days that we go through, or even just the moments that we go through that are seemingly hard or insurmountable or just effing, inane and boring and like minutia and like the stuff that I just can't, I have a really hard time, I have a lot of resistance to that stuff. How do you see that and embrace it in a way that fuels that greater desire for joy? Because I know that you have such a beautiful sort of view of this, and I try to do more of it every day, and I want other people to hear your 2 cents on this.
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes to the day of like the small things, there's it's like some kind of a proverb, and it says like, don't despise the day of small things, because they have to happen. The implication of the proverb is that you have to go through the small things to be able to get to the big things. You don't just become an adult, like a 30-year-old strong adult when you're a baby overnight. It actually takes time, and the journey is a part of the process. And again, with this overachiever perspective, I can be hard on myself in my circumstances. And
Yeah.
since I'm not going to lie, when I was 5 years old, I had inside of me a lot of the things that I'm doing now. There was a desire, since I was 13, it became even more clear that I was not yet being able to be my fullest expression of myself. I know it sounds so weird to say that.
No, I hear that.
I really felt that discomfort since I was, became aware, had awareness of self.
Yeah.
I felt like I was not fully living my greatest, deepest callings. And I am the closest today to being the person I know that I'm made to be, that I've ever been, which is incredibly exciting. But that means that I've spent the past 36 years feeling like, dang it, I think I was made for something more than what I'm doing right now.
Yes.
So you're sitting in a job that doesn't feel like it's your greatest expression, and yet you need to make money to be paid.
Yes.
And I think the awareness that I developed in those moments, and I'm not saying it came easy. I think you have to hear it. Someone needs to tell you that, hey, you're supposed to be where you're at in this season, and you need to keep hearing it over and over again, because it's not like that. Knowing that makes it less uncomfortable, or that suddenly gives you faith that, you know what? Don't worry, you are doing the right thing. It's just uncomfortable. This is where you're supposed to be. This is not the wrong moment. The future is coming. That faith doesn't just come because someone tells you to have faith and that it's going to work out, or they believe in you. You have to, I think, coach yourself. You have to daily talk to yourself and encourage yourself and remind yourself that this is true, and stay in that moment that you feel that you're supposed to be in that job, and seek for the things that are there, that you're there for. So like I mentioned, that fundraising job, I learned so much in that job, because it put me in a lot of uncomfortable positions with people who were far my senior. I was talking to the leaders of major law firms in downtown Los Angeles, Century City, Beverly Hills, and you'd walk in and you're like, these people have power, influence, and education, and
Yeah.
I'm right out of college. And do I deserve to be in this room? Okay. Do I deserve to tell this person, hey, like, this is the dean of our university. Look at his incredible initiatives. Like, who am I to speak to this person who's so influential and ask him to give money or to believe and support in what the president of this school is talking about? That stretched me.
Yep.
It forced me to step up. And so when I look at that job, I didn't feel the full fulfillment of what I will one day do, but it was there for a reason. It taught me a lot about self-confidence to walk into, the university club or all those clubs down in downtown Los Angeles and, act like I belong there. I had to learn and step up. So I felt like that was there for a reason. The small things were a blessing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what do you tell
It's
people?
so, yeah, it's perfect. It's so beautiful. And what you just defined is the difference between seeing that you might not be at your fullest expression, but knowing that what you're going through is going to add to that and get you there eventually, which is totally different from knowing that you are just in the wrong place and being afraid to make a change. That's the major distinction, which is so beautiful. So I hate that we have to wrap this up at this point because, here we are and it's 30 minutes and we probably, made some people tired because we've said a lot of really big, deep things. But Emily, you're just an amazing inspiration. I love that you're in my life. So if other people want you in their lives, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
They can come to, if they are interested in developing products, you can come to pearlresourcing.net. You can see some of our packaging and products and reach out there. You can also follow me on Instagram, Emily Ann with an E page, EMILYANNEPAGE. Beautiful.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing just your joy, your inspiration, your, vulnerability and authenticity in your story. And I know so many people are going to get so much from this. I know every time that we talk, I get so much from it and I learn something new. So I just love that about you and our beautiful friendship. So thank you guys so much for watching. This was yet another episode of the Nth Degree TV, the place to be to take your career from stuck to unstoppable. I appreciate so much having you here and joining us for today. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Nth Degree TV.